All right, we are kicking off this month's interview with a special guest and cousin of mine, Brandon Allen, owner of Bid Rite Remodeling LLC. Brandon specializes in interior and exterior painting and also runs a power washing business in addition to that. Having grown up with Brandon as well as working alongside him, I vouch for not only his quality of work, but more importantly, his character and him as a business owner. BidRite has recently completed a couple jobs, some smaller scale and some larger scale, for clients of mine, all whom have had good things to say about his work and his work ethic. Brandon recently helped me at my own home with an exterior project that involves staining the entirety of my cedar siding. I hope this interview provides you with yet another outlet on who to call when it comes time to invest into your home. All right, Brandon, appreciate you making some time this evening to chat. Tell us a little bit about yourself, personal, where are you from? What do you like to do when you're not working?
Yeah, my name's Brandon. I'm the owner of Bid Rite Remodeling. I'm from Florissant, Missouri, as some people know it as North County. Whenever I'm not working, I enjoy spending time with the family. Definitely watching the Cardinals and the Blues, and refinishing small projects around the house is, I just picked up this Coca-Cola cooler from this guy, and I'm anxious to refinish it and restore it and make it look new again. Um, that's pretty much what I do when I'm not working. I don't really have a lot of downtime.
Yeah, family man, hard worker. We like to hear it. We like to hear it. Okay, so tell us a little bit about, you mentioned owner of Bid Right Remodeling. Tell us a little bit about your business. How long have you been in the business? And what kind of services do you provide?
Yeah, so we're a small company based out of St. Louis. We've been in business since 2018. Uh, we provide painting, exterior and interior, trim work, small carpentry work. We do stain decks, power wash. Uh, I do refinish cabinets. It's not one of the biggest things, but it is something that we do offer. A lot of people like to go with new cabinets. They don't really kind of trust how the paint's gonna turn out, which I kind of get where they're coming from. But at the same time, I've refinished some cabinets in the past and made them look, I think, better than brand new cabinets. So that's one thing that we're starting to get into, and uh, that's grow as a company.
Yeah, absolutely. You see that more and more often now. I'm viewing these homes and, that old wooden look, which was, kind of in the 90s and early 2000s. Everyone's painting those wood cabinets white, going with the lighter colored walls. And yeah, to know that you are able to do something like that in addition to the other interior painting is good for us to know. Curious, so you say you're from North County, probably pretty familiar with the St. Louis area. Which areas do you prefer to work in? Are you kind of, open to traveling a bit? We got people in St. Charles areas, Jefferson County, down south, down 55. What areas do you prefer to operate in?
Yeah, so we definitely service all them areas: St. Louis, St. Charles, Jeffco, Franklin County. We try to stay within a 30 to 40 mile radius, so we're not deep into Jeffco where getting down to DeSoto and that'd be quite a bit trip. Um, unless the job is big enough. Um, that'd be the key to traveling over 30 40 miles. But most of our work comes out of West St. Louis County, Chesterfield, Baldwin, Manchester, Town and Country. That's where a big bulk of our you know jobs are at.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wanting to get to know you, obviously I know you as my cousin a little bit better than some. But for those that don't know you, what are some qualities and attributes that you possess that make you a better option than the next company? Because we do see some of these larger scale companies come in and bid work, bid interior paint work if somebody's looking to do a total, uniform color throughout the home. Some of these larger companies like to get in on those. What separates you and makes you the better option?
I think our biggest thing, from what I noticed, is that we're very fair on price. We're not trying to go in and pickpocket you. We're trying to give you a fair, honest bid. Um, Something that I would give to one of my family members. We're not. I don't jack up the price on uh, any type of material as far as paint. Is that, as far as that goes. So I think we're the fairest around St. Louis County in price. I really do. And we do, we have great quality work. Our expertise definitely will leave you happy.
Okay, that's good to know. When it comes to quality of work, they say painting, and as I'm sure you can attest to this, the preparation is more than half the battle. Some say 80-90% is in the prep. What type of preparation work do you do before starting a paint job to ensure a long-lasting finish?
So a lot of people like to jump in and just paint the wall. They want to see the color on the wall right away, and I don't blame them. But there is a lot of stuff that goes into prepping these walls as far as holes. I don't know what you. I mean, I know me. Sometimes I like to rearrange a room, and I might want to move a picture or something, so you're left with a hole in the wall. Paint's not going to just fill that hole. So you definitely got to prep the wall with as far as mudding. You definitely want to make sure the wall is smooth and ready for paint. And a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people like to jump in and get that paint on the wall. But the key for that paint to be able to last as long as it should is making sure that you put primer down. And a lot of people forget that they don't want to they don't have, I guess, maybe the funds, or they just forget. But that primer is what's going to hold that paint, the actual color of the paint on the wall, the longest.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I mean, I think I've been victim of that a couple times, trying to rush a project or whatever, and you don't prime it, and you end up paying for it. So it always, yeah, makes sense to take the steps, hire somebody that knows how to take the steps before jumping into something like this and end up spending more money in the long run. Curious to know, give us like a firsthand example here. Give me a story about a recent project you did, maybe where there was an unforeseen obstacle in the way that you had to overcome. Do you have any recent jobs that come to mind?
Yeah, so we had a job out there in Chesterfield. It was a couple of these older pillars built on these houses probably back in the 70s, and when I first went out there, I wasn't, I thought we could just scrape and paint. That's what I was expecting. And well, when we got out there and we dug into it and I started scraping, I mean, the wood was so loose. It just had so much damage, and I don't know if it was from termites or just from water over the years draining down. It was only at the bottom. So we ended up having to pretty much repair, you know, the bottom half of that pillar, and uh, it really turned out good. I have some pictures and stuff of that. So it left the homeowner actually really happy. Uh, and that was probably uh, one of the biggest jobs that I've had as far as underestimating something. I definitely underestimated that job, and I'm not going to charge the homeowner anymore because I've already gave him a bid on what I told him, and unfortunately, I'll eat up the cost, I'll eat up the loss on that one. But as long as he was left happy, that's all I care about.
I'm glad you say that. And I know it's the truth because, and like I said, in working with you, talking about that in the intro, I kind of see what you're about. And that type of operation is going to allow for your operation, your business to, withstand the test of time whenever you stand by the original bid. We see it so many times. I'm sure people that are watching this can think of a situation where, they contracted work to be done, unforeseen, circumstance came up, and, here they are dealt with the price tag.
Yep.
And what you kind of talked about there was deferred maintenance on that post, a little bit of wood rot and whatnot. If we have, a client looking to sell their home and that deferred maintenance starts to, pile up, which it can, with everything else going on in life, that really affects the value of their home. So the fact that you are able to provide that with a, pretty high level of service for people is important. Kind of wrapping this up a little bit here, I'm curious to know somebody, and a lot of people are uh, considering painting their own home themselves. What advice would you give somebody who's considering saving the money and, trying to tackle that themselves versus hiring a professional like yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, painting your house can be fun. It can be enjoyable if you're wanting to, save some money and, you know, do it yourself. But as far as a company, like myself, we do have the expertise. Um, we have the speed, the training, and we're professional. You know, we also get bulk discounts as far as like, supply material. And, finally, I think it'll leave you with a peace of mind knowing that someone else is doing it other than yourself, and it's going to be done right, and it's going to be done right the first time.
Yeah, I think something you touched on there at the beginning, the speed of it, is the biggest thing. As somebody who likes to take on projects themselves, uh, it always sounds great when you first get going, first weekend, okay, I'm making some good progress, and then you start to get sore and you get tired and you got other things to do, and it's like, why didn't I just hire this out in the first place? So probably
Yeah.
at least getting a bid, like Brandon said from the beginning, he stands by, his rates being some of the most affordable and most reasonable in the area. So why not at least get a bid, get an idea, and if it makes sense, what is your time worth kind of thing. So on the note of bidding and bidding process, how do you typically like going about that? Do you prefer folks kind of send in photos? Do you need to go see it on site, like you said, your experience with the post in person? What does the bidding process look like for Bid Right?
Yeah, so I prefer in person. Um, Definitely. That way I can get a good view of what I'm looking at. Pictures really don't do justice. I mean, they do, but they don't. You can make something look like $1 million in a picture, and then I get out there and it looks like, a dollar. So uh, it's very important to come in person and bid most things. There's a few things that, that I could look at a picture and tell you. Maybe, a small kitchen with some cabinets or something like along those lines. But I'm about 99% I want to do it in person. Um, so that's
Makes
just my input.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I think that gives everyone the most benefit, right? Your bid is going to be more accurate. There's going to be less surprises. Everyone comes to the table with the same expectations. And it probably
Yep.
gives you the opportunity to kind of lay out a timeline and whatnot as well, when we're talking expectations. So I agree with that. I like it. How can potential clients, if somebody's watching this, kind of wants to get in touch with you, or maybe I got that bathroom that I've been putting off for a while, or maybe it is a situation like mine where the exterior needs to be painted. How can they get best in touch with you to schedule a consultation or get an estimate?
The best way to reach me would be either, calling or texting. Um, I do check my email every day, but if you're wanting to really get a hold of me, calling me would probably be the best.
Calling you would probably be the best.
If I don't answer, leave a voicemail. I would return your call that day.
Yeah. Okay. All righty, Brandon. As we're wrapping up here, just curious to know, we covered a lot. Is there anything that we might have missed that, you have to offer or advice or anything like that for for a homeowner?
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know that I also do refinished handrails on the exterior of homes, particularly in, the Kirkwood Webster area where you get an older house, um, and you got those metal handrails coming down, maybe 1 or 2 steps, or they might even be 10 steps. But we are offering to, refinish those, so they can take on, all types of weather, and it'll leave you with a good product. And I've also been doing some patio furniture for people. That old school kind of metal. A lot of
Yeah,
people are wanting to keep it up by their pool or out on their deck or whatever, and they don't really want to spend the money to buy a whole new set because it would be cheaper to go ahead and paint it and, make sure you get the rust off and get a good finish on there.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
as far as giving a homeowner any advice, I think my biggest advice to a homeowner would be to, make sure you get a few bids and you know go with your gut on who you want to do the job. Sometimes that cheapest bid may not always be, the best product or the best job. There's a lot of guys in the company, or I'm sorry, in the business that are going around and putting bids out there, and they're really going to give you the cheapest bid, but they're going to give you probably the lowest quality of work because one, they probably don't know what they're doing, and two, they don't factor in overhead or anything like that. So they're going to start rushing the job, and it's going to leave you with a very unfinished, I think, not so good of a job.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be my biggest advice to a homeowner is just make sure you get a few bids and see where they all fall.
Absolutely. No, I think that's fair. I mean, you see a lot of these newer companies starting up and eager to obtain business and throwing these lower bids out there. But as you said, I mean, you've been doing this for what, close 7, 8 years now. So established, obviously, your line of business speaks for itself. If you can stay in operation as a self-employed, contractor for that long, respect comes with that. So Brandon, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate you making the
Yep,
this evening. I'm hoping that yeah, this is going to find the right person and see what we can do from there. Thanks again, man.
sounds good. All right, thank you.